Hey, greetings, Earthlings. It's Sunday. It's July 2nd, and it's just about 8:30. So it's not normal for me to come on a Sunday night and make a video, but when I did my video Friday morning, I told you guys I was going to try to do one Friday night, and I did try. Obviously it didn't happen, so I was trying all day yesterday. That didn't happen either. So here I am. I'm trying. I'm doing it now. So lots going on, lots and lots going on. Let's just stay focused on the Idaho 4. Oh, I've got my gloves. I'm not here to box, so you can put down your gloves. I'm not here to box. So Pro Force, I got them both. Yeah, yeah. Get out my props, right? Man, people get so feisty on the interwebs, don't they? It's ridiculous. Lots of trolls. We don't need to give them attention. Let me start with, doing this thing. Share, subscribe, ring your notification bell, please, if you'd like. Also, hit that thumbs up button. Oh, everything I say is simply my opinion. It's simply for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. I am very pleased to be on this journey with you guys. So, I started watching YouTube a few years ago. I never thought I'd do my own channel. This has been the coolest experience. So, thanks for watching. Let's just hop right in. Gaslighting. We talk about that a lot. It's one of those buzzwords that I think some people don't even know what it means. But let me just talk about the goal of the gaslighter because their goal is to get you off track. That's their goal. So if they can get you to talk about something else, anything else, it doesn't matter, talk about them. I was going to use an example, but I really want to stay focused on this case. So we have so many examples with this case. The Atwood pictures, right? Brian Koberger sitting there in the front row, front center, so pleased and happy to be in the same room with one of the greatest feminists of modern day history. And I have never thought that that photograph was for real. Many people say, oh, it is for real. Okay, I'll just go along with the assumption that it's real. What difference does it make? Like, and why did that photograph come out of the clear blue 6 months into this case? And that was a few weeks ago. And then we've heard nothing, crickets. That, I believe, was a distraction. So that's why I'm talking about it. I think that that was some type of gaslighting. I really don't believe that it's him hanging out with Atwood in that lecture type of setting at, what was it? Southampton University, no, Northampton College. I don't know, one of those. A Hampton, a college, an educational place. You know, it's neither here nor there, really. But the whole thing with the photograph and bringing it out and making it public, I really want to know why we're not seeing photographs of Koberger growing up, playing baseball, hanging out with his family, eating a sandwich, going to Disneyland, the things that most people do. And I don't think that mainstream media wants those types of images to be released. They want us to see this man as a monster. Why are they, mainstream media and law enforcement, so invested in him being shown in a bad light and being the bad guy? We want the bad guy to be put on trial. We want the bad guy to suffer the consequences of their actions. Bad guy, bad guys, bad females, whoever it is, whomever it is. So, all the last few days, I've been thinking a lot about the case with Tolson. Let me get a drink real quick. I've got quite the cotton mouth. Excuse me. So, Tolson, if you don't know who Tolson is, let me give you a quick catch up. He's an officer with the Idaho State Police Department. He was involved in a situation a few years ago, just probably like 3 years ago, where here I have it all written down so I can get names. Dr. Moore was wrongly convicted, and Dr. Drake was the doctor that was murdered in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. So Bonners Ferry is a very small town. I looked it up. It's like roughly 2,500, give or take. That's super small. That means everybody knows everybody, especially law enforcement and doctors. So Dr. Drake was shot in the back at his office at about 7 p.m., I believe. And all of this is just to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability. Allegedly, it's my theory, okay? This was what was in the lawsuit that was filed August of 2022. So Tolson is accused by Dr. Moore of coercion and unlawful practices in extracting a false confession from him. Dr. Moore's alibi was the coroner of Bonners Ferry, and allegedly, it says in the lawsuit that law enforcement started threatening the coroner and telling him that if he kept being the alibi for Dr. Moore, that he was going to be hurting himself professionally. So his alibi went away, and he spent, I think, a couple of months in jail. This was like 2 years ago. And then now he's suing the Idaho State Police and the Bonners Ferry Police Department. So, again, catching you up, Bonners Ferry is where our lead detective from the Idaho 4, Corporal Brett Payne, has owned a meat locker LLC for roughly 8 years. I believe from the documentation that I've found and other folks have found for me online. So we've done a lot of cross referencing. There's two Brett Paynes that are listed as owners of that meat locker and nobody else. Anyway, one of them's 33, one of them's 56, it says on these documents. The older one has quite the rap sheet from crimes committed in Alaska. So let's just leave that over here for a second. Tolson is accused of basically setting up Dr. Moore. So when Dr. Drake was shot in the back at his office at about 7 p.m. a few years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, his wife and him had been having a lot of stress. I think that there was extramarital affairs. I don't know if they were still living together, but she had taken out $1 million, and her brother, assistant police chief of Bonners Ferry. So you can bet that Brett Payne knows Bonners Ferry police because he's police in Moscow and he has a business in Bonners Ferry. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is that St. Marie's, the small town that the Payne brothers are from, is also about 2,500 population. So these are extremely small communities, extremely small. You can bet your bottom dollar that these people all know each other well, in my opinion. So, so Tolson is being accused along with a handful of other officers, of doing a lot of illegal activity to try to get Dr. Moore convicted of this crime. So he was cleared with his lawyer and through the courts. Dr. Moore has been cleared, but the law enforcement has said that they're not going to search for anyone else as the perpetrator because they believe still that Dr. Moore is the perpetrator, even though he's been cleared. So that's slander. And in a small town like that, that hurts a lot. So that's just a nutshell of this Giglio, Brady Giglio issue, potentially, that Sleuthy Goosey did her live on a couple of nights ago. And I don't know why people got so weird about all that, but I guess people just like to get weird about everything. That's why I had my little gloves and I'm like, I'm not here to box. Us content creators are doing our best to keep up with the case and present information to our viewers that we believe is fascinating. It's fascinating to us, and we might feel like we have found things that other people haven't found, and that we have a unique opinion, perspective. If you don't like our presentations, scroll and roll, please. Don't waste your time being rude in the comment section because that's just annoying. But you are helping the content creator with their algorithm, even when you make a rude comment. It's still a comment, and that's good for the algorithm. So that's why a lot of content creators don't delete them. I sometimes will delete them just because I don't like the negativity. If I'm feeling like I can use it as part of the conversation intelligently, I will. I'm fine with people disagreeing with me and having different opinions. And I'm also fine with being wrong. There's times when I'd like to be wrong. And let me just tell you, believe it or not, this is one of those times. I would much rather have a boogeyman that's just a whack job be the perpetrator of these heinous crimes rather than something far more sinister with many people not knowing, not caring, the roommates, the not calling, the not charging them with obstruction or other things, the university wanting to tear down one of the greatest pieces of physical evidence for the jury if this ever goes to trial. This is nuts. This is nuts. Those cars just sitting there in front of the residence for a couple of weeks before they got moved. And then when they got moved, they simply got taken down the street to the president's residence, allegedly, according to my source. Source says. So, what else do I want to say here? Martin Ryan. That's his name. That's the brother-in-law of Dr. Drake. Martin Ryan is the assistant police chief, I believe, or he was back then anyway, I believe, of Bonner's Ferry Police Department. So he owns that coffee drive-through, and his sister was the one who kept saying that she thought Dr. Moore did it because her husband stole some of his clientele. Like, as if. I mean, that's just something that happens in practices. No one's going to go do that, in my opinion. Um, so let's see. The the whole thing with Payne's height, my opinion is that he might be as short as 5'4" or 5'5". I don't know. Um, I think that looking at his height next to Xana's height in the um what was that? Was that in September, the noise complaint where she says that she doesn't own Morgan? I don't have a Morgan. That's cute, right? Um and I believe that that's Payne in that video and that you might be able to kind of judge how tall he is, but it's also hard because these cameras play so many tricks. So, if somebody is in the forefront, like look how big my hand looks and how small it looks. I mean, so whoever's closer to the camera, these things are really fisheyed, so they do mess with perspective. Um, so keep that in mind, but I think we'll get it figured out, right? Um, so Ann Taylor, it sounds like, has been granted permission by the judge to get the training records of Tolson, Payne, and a third officer that had a lot of involvement. I think that might be Gunderson, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's three, and I think we have Tolson, Payne, and probably Gunderson. Um, thank goodness the judge is allowing that. Like, that is crazy that that's even a possibility that she wouldn't be able to find out their training. There could be a police officer, theoretically, who doesn't even have training in gathering evidence, and then they're gathering evidence. They might not have training in interviewing potential suspects. I know it sounds crazy, but there's real specific training for all these things, and you want to know who's had these trainings. So, some police officers are trained specifically to interview victims. So, there's so many tools in their toolkit. And as the attorney for the defendant, especially in a death penalty case, of course they should know what type of training the people have had that have built the case against her client. Um, so my point that I wanted to make today, one of the ones that was the most important to me, is to Brett Paynes. So again, on the documentation that I have that's been cross-referenced, there are two Brett Paynes that own that meats and locker business in Bonners Ferry, where that Tolson had been involved in that case with the Bonners Ferry PD. So some people think that perhaps Tolson should be put on an administrative leave while that case is being adjudicated, while that's an active lawsuit. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it just depends. But in my opinion, yes, anybody should be put on a paid administrative leave when there's a lawsuit filed against them or an investigation against them. And when you have a lawsuit filed against you, you're certainly going to have an investigation going against you too. So it's not mandatory, though, is what I'm trying to say. It is up to the discretion of the police chief, basically, or I guess it would be the sheriff in the Idaho State Police. I'm not sure. I'll look it up. Anyway, whoever is the lead, it would be their call whether they want to put this officer on leave or even on a light duty, desk duty. But for him to be the one, potentially, it sounds like, that took the magical knife sheath into evidence, that's not going to go well. I think we'll see some of that occurring this next week, possibly. Um, So, yeah, I think that's about it. Where are we at? 20 minutes. I'm going to wrap her up. It took me so long to get this video together for you guys. I know it's not one of my best, but I'm doing the best I can. So thanks for watching. And I will, I'm usually sharper in the morning. I like to get my videos out early in the day. By the end of the day, I'm just kind of fried, tired. So I don't even think I've eaten dinner yet, and it's almost 9, and I can smell the bacon cooking, and that's like my favorite. So we're having BLTs. Um, yeah, what else? Was there anything else I wanted to mention in here? No body cam of the arrest. Give me a freaking break of Koberger's arrest. I'm sure there's body cam of that. We're just not privy to it, which is reasonable, of course. Um, but here's one for you. If indeed Brian Koberger was following any of these victims on social media, when did he start following them? Did he start following them before this terrible tragedy happened, or did he start following them after? That's something that is incredibly important to think about. There's, and that's if he was following them at all, okay? Um, we don't know for a fact that he was, but Yeah, I think that's all. I do want to say this, and then I'll wrap it. The Koberger family, I think, is incredibly intelligent to say nothing during this whole process so far. And I think that the defendant is also intelligent to say nothing. Everything you say can and will be used against you. So the smartest thing that you can do is not speak. So, on that, I'm going to say, have a lovely evening. It's a holiday, a long weekend for me, maybe a long weekend for a lot of us, with the 4th of July being the day after tomorrow. So, again, hit your like button if you'd be so kind. Share, subscribe, ring your notification bell. Sorry that I'm a little fuzzy with my brain. Like I said, it's almost 9 and just finally getting this to you. I hope it's good enough. Peace out. Sending you light, sending you love. Get a great night's rest. Hopefully, you'll be at the top of a very productive or relaxing work week. A lot of people take their family vacation around this time in the summer. So, enjoy your holiday. I'll be seeing you hopefully before then. I'm hoping to do a video tomorrow. I'm hoping to just keep them rolling. Um, I just love doing this. So thanks so much. And drink your water, eat your protein, eat your veggies, get your rest, be kind, be grateful. Thanks. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one.